Unlike a lot of other editors, Visual Studio provides more features that actually work in terms of navigating through your code. Of course, you have your very pleasant to use Solution Explorer. You can expand all the pages and do all that stuff. You can also in there look up different things. You can see all the files in the actual folder, the things that are not necessarily attached to your project in the Solution Explorer. So you can do that by switching this switch show all files in the Solution Explorer. But what's even more useful, if we look at this simple code arrangement here, we have a model for a quiz. Very simple thing. Now, of course, you could copy it and search for that class in the Solution Explorer. You might find something, you might not. That's all great and good, but the great thing about Visual Studio, you can actually peek the definition, or you can go to definition. So if we go to peek to definition, we can simply take a look at it without leaving a page, which is a great thing. You can take a look at what you need. Maybe you want to look up a type of something, maybe something else, maybe some of these validation arrangements. Lots of things you can look up, and then you can simply quit. Now, if you do want to continue your work on this particular file, you can simply dock it then to your whole thing, and you can do it like that. Now it is there, so it's there. Okay, it's great. Now from the other side, I have this model, and say I go into the new code, I've never seen it before, I want to explore it, and I find this object that I need to modify, and I want to see how many places it is actually being used. So what I can actually do is right click on it and then find all references. And this will allow me to see all the references. If I click on one of those, it will take me to that file. I will be able to quickly sort of move through it all and find all those arrangements in there. Great feature, will save you a lot of time. So you just right click on wherever you want, and then you go to find all references. It will display a list of all references. Of course, from the other side, you go to definition or peek the definition. If you go to definition, it will simply open that file. One thing to remember, of course, if you go to definition like that, it won't sort of attach the file that you selected. If you want to keep on working it, and if you don't want to move away from that file when you click on another file, you simply click this little button, and the tab will be open for later use. Sometimes in Visual Studio, in your C# code or whatever code it might be, you may need to search for things without using those convenient features like go to and find all references. If it is a piece of string, a piece of text, it simply may not work. Like for example here, we have this route, part of the URL, which would be a very common use case for this. But Visual Studio does provide some great abilities to search. They have been improved in the recent versions. What you can do is simply copy this, then use Control plus F combination, and you'll find the search. Now here, of course, you can choose the part you want to search in. You can choose the entire project, you can choose the current project. So if I am in this page which belongs to this Blazor project, I can choose the current project, and it will only search for this data in the current project. The useful thing, of course, is find all. If you find all, you'll find all the definitions in the bottom, in the find results. That is a great thing to have. And now, for example, I can go to this page. Also, what you can do is change things. So, for example, right here in this page, I have some services injected, but say I want to change these variables, right? These variables, but I don't want to change all of them, for example. So I could do it like this. I could select it, and I can apply changes only in selection. So for example, I want to change one of these. Say I might want to do questions, and I want to change instead of question to something like question. So I can do that now in the selection. If I click change, it will change it only in the selection. That is very useful thing to have. One of the more useful features alongside the C# Visual Studio offers is regions as well as debug release configuration regions. So that would be a more specific regions. Now generally regions will help you make your code more readable. You can expand them and you can collapse them. So say for example I have this on initialize the sync in this Blazor project. This is one of the examples from my Blazor course. So you can take a look at the course if you want to learn about Blazor, a very useful technology for modern web application development. So here I can just create a little region like that. We start with a hashtag, do region, and then we need to end region. So for that we do end region, and now I can place this right here very quickly and call it initialize region like that. So now I have my region. Obviously, this is a very small example, but in larger pieces of code, in large classes with lots of methods, with lots of variables, perhaps lots of properties, this would be very useful, and this is something you should definitely explore and try to use it. You can simply collapse it like that. Great. Now, for the debug, it's a bit different. You would need to use still a hashtag, right? It's not part essentially of the programming that you do. Is just something that Visual Studio arrange. It will either give you this code or that code based on some of these if statements. So we can do if debug. You can also work with different versions of the framework. There are different options available. This is especially useful in mobile development. You have different with .NET MAUI or with Xamarin. You have different options for different platforms, so this would be extremely useful for those cases. But the main thing would be a debug. So if you want to do different thing in a debug configuration, you might do that. And then we can do and if like that. So right here, if I say, for example, place this in debug and this right here, and I replace this to say, I want to do a different route. I want to start with test. Okay, so maybe I'm accessing a test API. That's what I'm doing, or test page somewhere, right? So, or maybe it would be localhost. This is a very useful feature. So now this code will run while it is in debug mode. Now, once you publish it somewhere, it will switch to release mode, which means this code will run at that point. And if you switch in Visual Studio on the top, you can do release. It will also switch. Now, sometimes it doesn't work, sometimes it does work. You sometimes need to rebuild it, but basically this code would then run if it's in release, and if it's in debug, this code will run. Very useful feature. Visual Studio offers lots of views, lots of arrangements. You can see your File Explorer or Solution Explorer in this case, in the case of a project. You can also see your code. You can also see your tables if you use a database project. Lots of different things you can explore with views. But you can also detach them, attach them, and split them so you can see more things at once and rearrange the views. It's a very useful feature that they offer, and it's something you should definitely explore and use it in your own projects. One of the useful things you can do, in this case we have a SQL Server project, a database for essentially a table, and then we also have a little Razor page. Now this project in particular is from one of my courses, Blazor course. It is one of the examples that's used in the course. But what we can do here, if we want to compare two pages, we can drag them out here and use them together. You can compare your databases, you can create your objects based on databases, or create different methods based on your class definitions. Lots of different things you can do. Obviously, when you have WPF projects, you can use one for styling, and you can move them around as well. Once you detach them, you can place them back again, it will be placed back again in the same place. You can also get rid of all the things on the side, or move them around, or move them out. The whole screen, the whole window is available to you to rearrange and arrange what you want. Now, at the moment, I've removed essentially the Solution Explorer, which could end up being a problem. But if you do turn one of these off, you can simply find them in the views at the top of the Visual Studio right here. So I'm missing the Solution Explorer, and I can bring that back quite easily. It will still be there. Also, now I'll be missing the properties. I can bring that back as well. You'll find all the views in the view. You can put that, and then you can move it around wherever you want. Now, the original sort of default and traditional arrangement is to put Solution Explorer on the right, but perhaps you don't you want to have something different there, or perhaps you prefer to see it on the left. You can certainly do that as well. Change it around to your comfort. So it's not just basically themes and dark and light mode you can change. You can change around these views and how they are displayed as well.